What's going on, everybody? And welcome to Ron 2's Motivation and Conversation, where I am your host, Ron Lyles, and it's my job to make you think and motivate you to keep going, growing, and flowing into a life of a better and more improved you. Yes, that's right. And wherever you're watching me from in the world today, I say to you, hello. Yeah. And in today's episode, we are going to be discussing the importance of execution. Ooh-wee, the importance of execution. Yeah. And listen, if you like or love any of the content that we're putting out, ma'am, sir, please, you know the drill. Please subscribe, like, and click the notification bell so that you can be notified of any brand new content that we're putting out, all right? And share. Never underestimate the power of the share button, because you might know somebody I don't know, and they might know somebody that neither one of us knows. So let's share, all right? And once again, you all, thank you for watching. Now, if you're not following me on any of my social media pages, please, ma'am, sir, the social media handles are down below. Feel free to follow me, all right? Follow me. I would love to have you become a part of my social media family, okay? All right. Now, let's jump into this pool and talk about the importance of execution. All right, let's look at the definition of what it means to execute. Let's check it out. To execute means to carry out fully. I like that. To carry out fully, put completely into effect, to perform properly. It also means to make or produce. I like all three of those. To carry out fully, put completely into effect, to perform properly, to make or produce. So in other words, execution is about performance and production. Execution is about your ability to carry out the objective, all right? And you must understand, those that's watching me today, you must understand that we live in a performance/production-based society and world. The more you perform, the more you produce, the greater you set yourself up for success. The less you perform, the less you produce, the greater the chance that you set yourself up for failure. Even in the job world, you have some jobs that are performance and production-based jobs where you will not get paid. You will not receive a salary unless you perform and produce. And even just the regular secular jobs, whatever, if you're not performing or producing, you may have to take that walk with your boss and sit down and, as we call it, have that come to Jesus speech about your time at that place of employment. Why? Because you're not performing or producing. You'll come to find that many jobs have high turnover rates, many of them because people aren't performing or producing. And so it's causing a strain there, and they're having to move forward because of the lack of execution. All right. And you got to understand that a lot of people are in a place, you may feel like you're in a stuck place, a place of plateau, a place where you feel like you've hit your ceiling, a place where it just seems like you're not moving. You have to ask yourself the question, is it because of execution or a lack thereof? Are you lacking in execution? Are you not executing? Are you not performing well? So this can lead you to two questions in your life. You can ask yourself these two questions. You can ask yourself the first question: am I executing in my life? Am I producing? Am I performing well? Where does it seem like I'm stuck? Am I performing in that area? Am I producing in that area? Am I executing in my life? Number two, I like this one, and this is one that we'll expound on. You can ask yourself this question: am I planning but not producing? Now, this is real heavy because you'll find that some people don't have an issue with planning. They don't have an issue with writing down their visions, but they do have an issue with producing what they've written down. They do have an issue with performing what they've written down. Some of you, planning is not your issue. You've written down your vision and your goals on tablets. You typed them up. You put them on big poster boards. You've written them down in your calendar notes. You even trash cans across the country have things written down and the ideas that people have written down. But the question is it your execution? Are you planning but not executing? Are you writing it down and not performing it? Are you tabbing it down but not producing it? Are you not planning and producing the things that go hand in hand to make your visions, come across? We all know the popular scripture in Habakkuk 2:2, write the vision, make it plain, that he may run that readeth it. Here's two things, writing and running. That scripture covered two actions. You got to write and you got to run. The writing is the planning. The running is the performing or the producing. So you have to make sure that you understand it's not enough to just write down goals and write down visions if you do not perform or produce. In other words, if you do not execute. You have to execute these things. You have to put these things into action. All right? You have to make sure that in your planning process that you're not just thinking about the goals as you write them down, but you're coming up with a plan of action. You're executing, you're running, you're making this thing happen, you're producing so that what you've written down can manifest and become reality in your life. In team sports even, it's not enough for the coach to just draw up a play alone, but the team has to execute. The team has to carry it out. Coaches aren't fired today for the lack of planning. Oh no. But a lot of times they're fired for the lack of execution. Yeah, they're fired because that team couldn't go out and execute what they diagrammed. A lot of people call it rallying the troops, rallying the men, rallying the women. You couldn't rally the troops to go out there and perform what you diagrammed, the stuff that you've practiced, the things that you've gone over in your practice time and in your shoot-arounds or in your rehearsals or practices, wherever you practice that on your fields, in your baseball diamonds, wherever. They could not perform what you diagrammed. And so sometimes I think it's unfair, but coaches are fired because of a lack of team execution. Even in a home remodel, whenever you're remodeling your house or you're coming in and you're wanting something fixed, something significantly changed in your home, you're finding that what happens is a project manager will come out, especially during a home remodel. If your home is being remodeled, a project manager will come out. They'll look around, they'll write some things down, they'll begin what's called the planning process. They'll plan it out, they'll give you an estimate, and then guess what happens? After that project manager leaves and you shake hands and agree to the deal to have things remodeled or shifted and changed, guess what? They go back to the office, they put in the paperwork, and then a production team will come. The production team will come with the materials and with the different things to get things set up and get the ball rolling and moving on the remodel so that they could set up or carry out or perform or produce what the project manager had planned or had written out. So planning and production goes hand in hand. You have your project manager that plans and you have your production team that carries out the plan. So a lot of you that's stuck and stagnant, you feel like you're at a place of plateau, you're feeling like you're not really performing well in your life, you need to go back to my first episode that I talked about taking a lead. And you really need to sit down and look at your plan. And if you haven't planned, you need to look at that plan. You need to plan, but then fast forward to this episode here. This episode here on the importance of execution. And guess what you need to do? After planning, you need to produce. You need to perform. You need to carry out everything that you've written down, everything that you literally put before yourself as a goal to accomplish. You've got to execute. It's on you. It is solely up to you. Can't nobody execute for you. Can't nobody perform for you. Can't nobody produce for you. Can't nobody carry out the objectives for you. Whatever you're doing in life to better yourself. If you're going to college, you're going to school, you've got a business, you got some business ideas in your head. If you're in sports, whatever you're doing that's causing you to have to dig deeper, search within yourself, you need to understand the importance of execution. It's not enough to just show up. It's not enough to just look the part. It's not enough to just be there, but you have to produce, you have to perform while you're there. So you need to understand this right here before we head out of here of this segment. You need to understand that execution is essential to success. Execution is essential to success. Execution is very important. I've said this time and time again on this segment. Execution is very, very important. Performance, production, carrying out the objective, executing is very, very important if you're going to improve in your life. You can't sit here and point the finger at other people and blame other people for your lack of production, for your lack of performance. You have to produce. You have to execute. Even if you have to shift your mindset, even if you have to, literally, shift your mindset. Shift your mindset. If you have to do that, shift it. Shift it to tell yourself, listen, I have to perform. I have to produce. I have to do this. All right? Listen, back in the day when I was a kid and I used to watch wrestling, Bret Hart, or we called him Bret the Hitman Hart, was my favorite wrestler. And if you go back to Bret Hart's videos, you can look them up right here on YouTube. You look at any of his interviews, he constantly referred to himself as the excellence of execution. Reason being because Bret Hart had a way of performing in that ring. He had a way of producing in that ring. Bret Hart was super technical. He was a very, very extraordinary technical wrestler. He knew how to perform the moves. He knew how to produce the audience and produce the moves to make you ooh and ah and make you get up out your seat. He knew how to draw you in to his wrestling abilities because it was put in him from the time he was a child. His father was a wrestler, Stu Hart. His father was a wrestler and wrestling promoter. And then he had a room in the house in the basement called the Dungeon, where wrestlers would come from miles around to learn the art and the technicalities of wrestling. So Bret Hart mastered this literally under the tutelage of his father. And he oftentimes referred to himself many times as the excellence of execution. But he couldn't call himself that if he never produced, if he never performed, if he never made it happen. He could never refer to himself as the excellence of execution. But he could do that because he wasn't just talking, but he was actually walking it out. And so I challenge you today, those that's listening, those that's watching, whether you're watching by tablet, by phone, by TV, however you're viewing me right now, I'm challenging you that when this video goes off, that you don't just clap your hands and say, oh, that was just a cute video. That was just another good video. But that you take this to heart. That you take this to heart, that you really evaluate the areas in your life where you may not be executing, where you may not be performing, where you may not be producing, where you may not be carrying some things out. Evaluate them. Sit down and evaluate them. And examine yourself. Because at the end of the day, if you do this, it'll provoke you to want to do better, be better, and even know better. All right? Whatever you do, you've got to understand the importance of execution. You've got to execute. Get it done. All right? I love y'all. Thank you for tuning in to another broadcasted segment of Ron 2's Motivation and Conversation. And I look forward to seeing you all again, where we're going to be discussing another topic to make you think and keep you going, growing, and flowing to a life of a better and more improved you. All right? I love you. See you soon.